Hello everyone and welcome back to HJW Gaming. After a slight hiatus in content creation, we are back with a season review following the end of my Kings of Men server. Unfortunately, I was a little bit slow in producing this video, so I have already been kicked back into Bag End, so I'm afraid I don't have the map to show you. However, we are still going to talk through what happened since I last streamed, an update on this server, and just talk through kind of a review of the season and what I think I've learned from it, as well as opening our Season 10 rewards. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, as it does make a massive difference to my channel. Into the video. So the first thing I really want to talk about is covering what happened at the end of our season since that last stream. So I'm going to use the little Bag End map here. I appreciate, of course, it won't have the kingdom's colours on it. However, I can still talk through exactly what our movements were and the opponent's movements as well. So last time you saw us, we were fighting around Kindland, which at the time was our capital, with the intention of, with the Season End timer up for 7 days, the intention of keeping Kindland and trying to make sure we can guarantee ourselves Season End rewards. Unfortunately, we scrapped around here for quite a long time. I think it was around 3 days, to the point where one of the battle pings neared around 30 million participants, I believe, with 10 million deaths. One of the biggest pins I've definitely ever seen in one of my servers. It was kind of all in. There was us, there was the Remains of Power and a lot of drum as well, going up against X-Hub and 2B. SDCC stayed away from that, and they instead were scrapping with, I believe it was the Blue Kingdom. But we did have a few SDCC up. There's a couple of their whales around there as well, but for the majority, most of their team was elsewhere. Of course, X-Hub and 2B at the time had their ring buff as well, so it kind of ended up being a pretty balanced scrap around this crossing, to be honest, with both sides pushing back and forth relentlessly. As I said, this continued for around 3 days. Unfortunately, it did result in the end in us losing the crossing. They made some clever moves through the tunnels to the south of Kindland as well, that required us therefore to split our force, so we didn't have as much of defensive presence on the single focus point of that crossing, and then they were quite clever in moving all their troops at the last minute up to the crossing and just blowing straight through our defences, which we struggled to come back from then on. So we from there they moved to Kindland and cleared a lot of our forts and prepared to take the kingdom. This is where, of course, with only a couple of days left of the server, we kind of tried to negotiate with the Red Kingdom to try and secure our rewards, as we felt that we've provided good entertainment for the entire duration of the server. There's always been good respect, in our opinion, from the majority of our team with their team. So we were looking to kind of at least be rewarded slightly for that, with being allowed to keep a single capital, which means that we would therefore be able to keep our kingdom. Because the way the rewards work in Kings of Men is that the rewards for where you place in the prestige ranking, or the contribution ranking as it's called, doesn't come into play unless you have a formed kingdom. So if they took that and removed our kingdom and we weren't able to reform, what that would mean is the loss of around 600 season end points. I think it's about 550 for those in the top 50 for prestige in the kingdom. Of course, that's a huge amount of season end points. So we look to try and negotiate with them to keep that capital. Unfortunately, the end decision from Red Kingdom was that they did want to take it. And they decided to take it to give to another fellowship. They gave it to the Rise Fellowship, who, you remember, at one point were in Purple Kingdom, but had quite a rocky relationship with Wolf. And the reason for this was Rise entered the server with SDCC, so of course were always allied along with the Red Kingdom, so they wanted to give rewards to their allies, basically. This prompted us to move south down here towards Mad or Tok. We did still have a foothold in Mordor and a lot of the Mordor territories, so it didn't take us long to move across to in order to basically get control of Mad or Tok. At a similar time, of course, we were being cleared away from Kindland, and we did kind of try and delay this by sending a lot of long marches, which was quite entertaining, long marches towards the Rise point of stacking to take the keep. Of course, we're sending these marches which can take up to 2 hours, but even when they hit, you could still take down 2 or 3 armies and just slow down their ability to take down the armies on the keep, of which of course Toby could help with, but also reduce their capability for siege. So it just bought us a little bit of time whilst we cleared around Mad or Tok. I think with around 2 days to go, the last 2 days of the server, Rise did in the end take Kindland, and we immediately took Mad or Tok, which disbanded the Purple Kingdom, unfortunately. And this is the point where we discovered that unlike earlier on in the season, where there was a 2-day cooldown before you could form a kingdom, along with the 1-day, 24-hour delay until the kingdom actually forms, instead this 2-day delay at the beginning has gone completely, so we only needed 24 hours to form our kingdom. So what that meant was we could immediately start our reform, and with 2 days left of the server, that left us enough time to form our kingdom so that we could also get rewards. So from then on, we kind of just had to defend Mad or Tok and surrounding areas. Thankfully, around that time, I think Red Kingdom kind of wanted to cool off a little bit as well, so it just ended up being the last 2 days was our kingdom reforming, some small scraps, but mainly just PvP areas, things like that, and just everyone cooling off and getting ready to enter Bag End with some commander tests and things like that. So the end result was that Red Kingdom got 4 rewards due to possessing the ring and 3 capitals in Enuminas, Orthanc and Osgiliath. Actually, the Blue Kingdom ended second with not the ring, but they did have 3 capitals. They had Dol Amroth, Haradabad, and one other which I can't remember off the top of my head. And then us and Rise ended with single capital rewards, of course them with Kindland and us with Mad or Tok. Which, to be honest, isn't the worst result in the world. Of course, as I said, the main rewards I wanted to kind of try and secure for, at least for my kingdom, was trying to get those rewards for the contribution placement, as that would make up almost half of people's seasoned end total. So that was our main priority, and we ended up with that. So yeah, kind of happy with the end result in the end. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Kings of Men as well, and what my kind of review is of this. The first of the things I would say is that this was our first time entering a non-roleplay server. We've never played Rebuilding Glory non-roleplay or Tactics Evolved non-roleplay. Of course, we made a lot of mistakes and we learned a lot along the way, but being able to use evil troops and commanders was refreshing. Particularly, I must say, the ability to use things like Gothmog for siege, which I've only ever looked at in Envy on this account, which was always good side roleplay, so I've always looked over at evil side players with Envy. The capital and kingdom mechanic is great fun. Being able to re-establish, like we did twice, makes for a fun season and doesn't just dead off all activity, when you lose your first couple of areas. So you can always come back, at least try to come back. And the other thing is that this server, Kings of Men, definitely attracts bigger players than what we've played in previously. The reason we chose to go into Kings of Men server instead of our usual Rebuilding Glory RP servers was that we wanted to look for a kind of higher caliber of player, which we of course got with the teams that we're facing off against. Some of our previous seasons, if we've won a couple of battles in the first 2 weeks, the server goes extremely stale after those 2 weeks. So it's awesome to see a load of other massive teams that give us very good competition, and overall the server had a reasonably good balance to it for the duration, and I think everyone had a lot of fun. And the next thing I was going to talk about was just the other factions that were in this server. For the most part, everything was very respectable. I'd say 2B and X-Hub have shown why they, for a while, have been one of the biggest RP duo team-ups for a while. My interactions, at least mine, were always respectful. A few players fell out, as occurs in any season, but for the whole, it was very respectful. SDCC, we initially thought would be the kind of third wheel of the group and could turn out to be their Achilles heel, as it was a fellowship we never come across before. And initially, at the beginning of the season, it looked like they were just kind of being sent around to take early keeps. However, they did turn out to be, arguably the strongest or one of the strongest of the three. Whilst they probably didn't have as many so-called whale players as maybe Home or 2B, That's not to say they didn't have any whales or that their regular players were not strong, because they were. But what really set them apart as an opponent for me was how well they played the basics. Their tile game was exceptional. Every time home was put on the same front as them, we kind of made our trademark drive and stack moves towards them. We'd be paved the round at astonishing speed. Plus, their insane levels of early game tiling in order to get access to and take those keeps early on gave the Red Kingdom a huge advantage in terms of keep buffs. So that was pretty instrumental in the Red Team's victory. And again, I have great respect for them. They were a very, very strong fellowship. And then I'll talk about Blue Kingdom as well. And Blue Kingdom, of course, were the team that declared alliance with us in order to help us against Red Kingdom. And they were very enjoyable teammates on the most part. Their leaders in particular, I can't talk highly enough about, for choosing to side with us, really, and try to balance the server. In the end, they had their limitations due to being kind of 3 standalone fellowships that joined on their own, not a pre-arranged alliance. But all too often, I've seen the kind of third team in a server just team up with the biggest team of the group in order to try and get scraps of their winnings at the end, which leads to further imbalanced servers. They didn't decide to do this, so I'm very glad to see them end the season with their 3 capital rewards, and I think they've ended with the respect of all other fellowships in the server. So to Echo, Bro and Game, yeah, they definitely have everyone else's respect, and I very much enjoyed playing with them. Next up, I'm going to talk about what I personally and us as a fellowship learned from playing this season and kind of how we can develop going forwards. One takeaway I'd say was the difference between commander builds. For example, the value of, say, the White Council tree when facing anyone, due to the strength of the evil troops, like how alchemists, arbalests and reapers can deal insane damage when allied with the right commanders. So White Council does very well against these. And also just how cool it is having evil commanders available, particularly things like Gothmog and their insane siege, but also trying to unlock things like the Witch King, which I hope to have available for next season. It just brought a lot of enjoyment to the game, where I didn't even realise it had gone a little bit stale for a while now. Personally, I was a little bit worried that my good side focused commanders wouldn't cut it, but they definitely do. Gandalf the Grey gets a great power up from evil troops, as do commanders like Gandalf the White and Faramir. Additionally, roleplay builds that are very strong, like Frenzy Dwalin, remain extremely strong in non-roleplay. So roleplay players, you shouldn't be afraid to make the jump to non-roleplay. I definitely recommend it. It is very enjoyable. Some commanders, of course, we noticed a definite power drop in our Elrond's output in RP, particularly against good side. He's exceptional, but struggles a little bit in non-roleplay because until I get a strong resistance chess piece for him, he does struggle against elemental damage. But that's something that can be rectified in future. As a fellowship, we definitely got a few things wrong strategically, particularly in regards to our spawn. Whilst taking Orthanc was nice for the war drummers, it severely limited us in several ways. First off, there's nothing left to farm your commander levels on, in the same way that other places such as Anuminas have the Hobbit archers around the Shire. And secondly, there's a severe lack of low-level keeps available around the Orthanc area, so it feels like you're making no progress, and you miss out on keep buffs for additional gold, resources and troop buffs. These things combine to a really heavy disadvantage when the first war comes. In future, the kind of Anuminas Shire area will definitely be a point of interest to us. We also made a lot of mistakes in regard to our movements, which is all good to see in the power of hindsight, but of course at the time we felt like we were doing what was correct. For example, not taking Moria early on to help keep those lands safe, and also when we moved southeast to regroup, we didn't keep ourselves in close enough proximity to Dol Guldur to be able to mount a strong defence. Once the ring was taken, the server was essentially over, as the power of the ring buff that kind of gets provided, it's game over from there with the 5% buff. So there's definitely a lot of things for us to learn, but overall I think it puts us in a better place for our next non-roleplay server, and it was definitely refreshing to be able to play something that felt new rather than kind of recycling the same roleplay servers over and over. So now I'm going to open up my season end rewards. As you can see, we did finish with a challenger badge, unfortunately, and that is a result, of course, of only having the one capital. If we did have the 3 rings of power, we instead would have got the regional lord badge. This was the one picked up by Blue Kingdom, and of course we definitely didn't have the ring, so this is what was picked up by the Red Kingdom. But we did still get 1,000 season cut-off rewards, so we did get all of our personal rewards done. We also came in the top 50 for contribution ranking, I think with around, I think it was around 2 million prestige. So we did come in the top 50. And this is quite cool here, which is newly added. Oh no, sorry, here it is here. So 1.8 million prestige. So you can see here, it also shows our most commonly used commander, which ended up being Dwalin in the end. And you can see here just a few of our stats. So we did get the 1,000 season cut-off rewards, which leaves us a couple of options in regard to what rewards we decide to pick up. So if we go in the store here, we have a couple of different options. We do have the option, of course, we can't get the Dragon Tooth necklace, which is unfortunate, as we are still lacking a tactical mark version of this. Again, Bane of Soldiers would also be good, but we'll have to just stick for now with our Dragon Energy version. Hopefully until next season. So we do still have some points left over from last season as well. So we do have 1,225 medals. So I think what we're going to look to buy instead is going to be Matham medals and Mithril chest as well. On the Mithril coat, we're looking to try and get Tactical Maneuvers, which grants first 3 rounds an allied damage received buff, which would be awesome. And hopefully with a couple of Mathams we can just try and pick up a bit more Witch King respect, so he's respect 3 by the time we start our next season. So without further ado, let's just grab that and see what we get. And alas, we get Improved Shroud, which is unfortunate. So it'll probably end up being burned into another chest piece, unfortunately, as I probably won't use this unless I had the correct buff on it. And now we'll look to pick up those extra 2 Mathams, and I think I have a couple more just sitting in here. So I do have 5 indeed. So I just open those 5 Mathams, and alas, nothing but a purple chest piece. So the last thing I just want to talk through will be kind of my plans for next season and my plans going forward. So I will continue doing Commander Guide videos. However, my season, we're probably going to take a break in Bag End just for while people are on summer holidays, things like that. It'll be about 3 weeks, I think. And I'll keep everyone up to date when the new season's set to start, and I will be streaming a lot more of the next season. I'm trying to be a little bit more active with the streaming so I can keep you guys up to date with movements on the server, and you can watch a bit more PvP as we go forward. And it's likely to be another Kings of Men server. We have lost a couple of players in Home moving around fellowships. However, I will be remaining with Home, so you'll be seeing the same familiar names from my channel in the next season. Anyway, with that, that's everything I have to offer. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. As I said earlier, if you've enjoyed, drop a like and hit the subscribe button, and I really hope to see you on the next one.